When it comes to hearing the unspoken things your partner, who's a trauma survivor, cannot say, listening to what they do is just as important as what they say. So, to successfully create a healing environment for yourself and for your partner, it's imperative that you understand how the echoes of past trauma show up and remain present in your partner's body and mind. It's not until the two of you accurately understand this together that true healing can take place. Hey there, I'm Tamara Ridge, the therapist that's been there. I've been helping couples heal from childhood trauma together for the last 30 years. And I'm here to serve you so that you can understand how healing can take place in your relationship. The most important concept that I want you to take away from this video is the idea that trauma responses always show up as out of proportion reactions to something that's happening in real time. The second most important thing I want you to remember is that your partner's trauma experiences happened inside close relationships. So the very fact that you are in a close relationship with your partner is enough for their trauma brain to be watching for danger. If you're going to hear the unspoken things that your partner cannot tell you, you've also got to watch and listen during those times when your partner appears to be having bigger or more intense or out of proportion responses to the things that are happening around them, including things that are happening between you within your relationship. Those responses are the very responses that helped your partner survive childhood, but may not be useful today in their relationship with you. So let me give you some examples of some of those behaviors that you might see from your partner when they're in a trauma response that can clue you into the fact that instead of taking something that they're saying or doing personally, you can start to be curious about what's really happening for your partner. It's going to be important for you to sit down with your partner when they're not in a trauma response. Maybe watch this video together and have a conversation when both of you are calm about how these behaviors may show up when they're in a trauma response. Then, after the two of you have identified what the trauma responses are, it's time for you to ask permission to offer help, safety, and a sense of grounding when these trauma responses show up. That you'll have to figure out with your partner, but one of the things I can tell you is you've got to stay calm. And the rest of this video, I'm going to share with you some of the things to look for that may well be trauma responses. I'm listing them in no particular order, but I want you to know what the range of behaviors could be. The other thing to realize is that every trauma survivor has unique trauma responses that can't just be picked off a list, but they're better understood in a caring, safe relationship where patterns of behaviors that are out of proportion or don't make sense can be understood with compassion. So I'm going to share in this video 4 of them, and then next Monday 4 more, the following Monday the last 4. There are 12 of them generally. The first is that you might notice that your partner who's a trauma survivor exhibits avoidant behavior, trying to avoid anything that reminds them of traumatic events. How this shows up in your relationship is that they might not want to talk when they get upset. They may have a pattern of trying to avoid you when you feel upset. They may even try to avoid by sleeping or shutting down. Recognize when this happens, that trying to force your partner to talk is the last thing you want to do. They're already in a fight or flight response, and pursuing them while they're withdrawing will only lead them to be more afraid and more prone to withdrawal. The best thing to do is to tell them that you're available and to give them space. While you're talking about this together, a great thing to do is to identify how you can choose together a time when you're both ready to talk about the conflict that brought the trauma response in the first place. You might notice that your partner experiences hypervigilance. That means that they're hyper alert and constantly on guard, anticipating potential threats. If your relationship has been especially conflictual, your partner's trauma responses may rightfully determine that interactions with you lead to a lack of safety. If this is the case, you have to back off from trying to resolve relationship conflict and focus on stress management. You see, trauma survivors' hypervigilance is associated with having their nervous system on alert for too long. So if the tiny stresses that come in, the day-to-day stresses of daily conflict that happen in relationship, push their nervous system over the limit. So if you want to focus on stress management, I have an excellent video and homework assignment for couples for stress management. Just reach out to me at the email that I've listed in the description of this video, and I'll be happy to send that to you. You might also, and I mentioned this before, notice self-isolation. Your partner may withdraw from social interactions and isolate themselves so they can avoid potentially being triggered. This is a result of constantly being in the ready for fight or flight state. I'll link that video at the end and right here in the corner so that you can see what the ready for fight or flight state looks like and what to do about it. Another reason that you might see isolation from your partner is because, again, in close relationships that are supposed to be trusting and safe, your partner may have learned that where safety and trust should be, injury and absence of safety exist. If this is the case for you, then it's going to be really important for the two of you to get professional assistance to help you understand exactly how and why the signals of lack of safety show up in relationship and how to calm those so that your partner feels safe. When I'm working with couples, I help them through communication to understand what those triggers are, and I support them in their ability to eliminate those trauma responses within the context of couples communication therapy. I'm licensed in California and Utah. I'm covered by several insurance companies. And if you're outside of California or Utah, I have coaching packages and an online program to help you navigate these waters. You may also notice that your partner tends to shut down emotionally. We call that emotional numbing. This is where your partner may disconnect from their feelings or become unable to experience joy or sadness or other emotions fully. When this happens, the ability to connect with you becomes limited. We are unable to forge emotional connections with other people if we cannot remain emotionally connected with ourselves. In this situation, I recommend membership in my community, Trauma Free Nation, to help your survivor partner understand how to reconnect safely with feelings. The reason this problem exists is because children who are being harmed are not safe to feel their feelings. At some points in time, a child may believe that their very survival is being threatened. And it's easier in those cases just to shut feelings down than it is to feel that you're going to be obliterated. Children cannot stay with those very intense emotions. And remember, I told you that trauma responses are your partner using strategies that they used in childhood in the present moment, even though they don't work. The problem is that the unresolved emotions from childhood stay in the body, and the more your partner holds onto and bottles up feelings that they believe are impossible for them to face, the harder it's going to be for them to feel feelings in the moment, including connecting with you. This is one of the most common things that I see when someone comes to me with depression that they can't seem to explain. It often comes from childhood trauma that's unresolved, and there's this bottlenecking of emotions that are too dangerous for them to feel. The point of sharing this with you is understanding that when you're faced with your partner's trauma responses and they don't make sense to you, it can be very confusing and overwhelming and frustrating. This video and the ones that follow are intended to help you get a greater understanding of what your partner may be going through so that the two of you can talk about it and heal. Healing is possible. To me, there's not enough therapists who spend enough time helping people really heal to believe that true healing is possible. I stand alone or with a very small group of mental health professionals that says healing is possible, complete healing is real, and you can do this within the context of your relationship. I'm Tamara Ridge. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.